This is the Tom Bigby Tales, and I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I write about a small town in northeast Mississippi called Columbus, and sometimes I write about the rest of the state. This episode, while not lengthy, is very important to a seminal time in the history of our country. It was the morning of Monday, December 23rd, 1963, just 2 days before Christmas across America. Families were rushing to finish their last-minute shopping, preparing for Christmas and the holiday of cheer. But for 9 families in the Strategic Air Command community at Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi, this day would bring an enduring memory of grief. The aircraft was a massive Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, serial number 57-0043, assigned to the 454th Bombardment Wing. This F-model bomber, a staple of America's Cold War deterrence, was on a routine training flight, scheduled to take off Columbus. Although at the time bombers routinely carried nuclear weapons, the Air Force later confirmed this particular B-52 was unarmed. Aboard the aircraft, designated Crew E09, were 9 men, the regular crew of 6, plus 3 extra men along for the training mission. These men represented decades of service and experience. Major Carl M. Funk, the 41-year-old aircraft commander of Abilene, Kansas; Captain Elbert J. Ando, the co-pilot, a veteran of 11 years; Master Sergeant Lacey Potter, the 41-year-old tail gunner from Pikeville, Kentucky, a man with 20 years in the service. They were fathers, husbands, and sons. Men like First Lieutenant Liam Rafferty, the EWO, or the Electronic Warfare Officer, just 25 and newly married, and Captain Fred R. Curtis, a radar nav and father of 3 daughters. In 1957, the B-52, manufactured just 6 years prior, lifted off from Columbus Air Force Base, which was also known once as Key Field. The area was blanketed in a dense, heavy fog. Fog was not unusual for pilots to take off in, but on this day it would prove fateful. Shortly after takeoff, while climbing into the clouds, the unthinkable happened. The massive bomber lost control. The probable cause determined was a devastating mechanical failure. The Flight Altitude Position Indicator, a critical instrument that tells the pilot the aircraft's orientation relative to the horizon, is believed to have failed. Pounding the emergency, maintenance had just performed on this very indicator, and a checkout of its function was one of the flight's objectives. With no visual reference points in the heavy fog and the instrument giving incorrect readings, the crew was effectively flying blind. The pilot, Major Funk, unintentionally put the B-52 into a slow turning roll. Minutes after leaving the runway, the aircraft emerged from the cloud cover, completely inverted and diving toward the ground. The B-52 Stratofortress smashed into a field a few miles north of the airbase near Daracot Road. The impact was an enormous explosion in Monroe County. Debris scattered over a 3-mile area, with pieces found up to 5 miles away. One section of the wreckage hit the ground so forcefully it dug a crater 75 feet deep and 150 feet wide. Miraculously, farmhouse roof was torn by 2 bits of wreckage, but no one was home. Tragically, all 9 members aboard the B-52 were killed. The recovery effort was grim, further complicated by a snowfall that soon blanketed the crash site, covering the burning debris. Heavy equipment was brought in as investigators sought to piece together the final moments of the flight. On Thursday, December 26, 1963, memorial services were held in the Columbus Air Force Base Chapel, honoring the 9 men who perished in the skies just before Christmas. 50 years on, local residents still remember the day the massive bomber came down, a stark reminder of the risks taken by those who served during the Cold War. In the field, there is a granite marker to the men, and periodically, people who visit it, who have found bits of wreckage still in the farmlands around, will leave bits and pieces of the wreck in homage to the men who gave their lives. I want to thank you for coming on this episode of the Tom Bigby Tales. Until next time, I'm Shannon Evans.